So today for Friday, you're going to be focused on Martin Luther and the Protestant Reformation and how it spreads, looking at a textbook chapter summarizing the factors that encouraged the Protestant Reformation, Luther's role, maybe a little bit on the teachings of John Calvin. So if you look at, um, let's take a look at. Well, first of all, let's go to the classwork, and the new notebook will be posted. Protestant Reformation digital notebook, Reformation digital notebook. You can see it here. So you're going to complete slide two for Monday, first thing Monday. Why not slide one? Slide one, I'm going to go through a little bit here, and also I'm going to go through a little bit on the on Monday in class. So if I give this a second to load, this slide number 2, I'm going to cut my fat face out of here so you can get a little better idea. Slide number 2 is what you're going to be completing for Monday. Where can you find information on slide number 2? You can find it in 1.3, again, in the text, 1.3, talking about the Protestant Reformation and the causes. But start with, I would go down and start with where it talks about how it spreads. So it's starting with the firestorm beginning and Charles V's, the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V's problem with it as well, and then the peasants revolt and so on. So start down with the spread. That will help you. It's talking about how it brings changes and so on, and then talking about its particular spread. So more toward the second half of the guided reading, because the first half I kind of cover with you, talking about the problems in the church, the 95 Theses. So we've talked extensively about the indulgences in the church and how the church leaders are very corrupt. The Pope had too much power. We've talked about indulgences and how they're sold for good works, like sponsoring art. And Martin Luther's like, wait a minute, this is just wrong. And so he proposes the 95 Theses, a list of complaints against the church nailed to the door in Wittenberg in Germany. Okay, so he's saying your forgiveness for sin should not be paid for by tithings to the church, and the Pope shouldn't have the whatever authority to take you out of purgatory based on your ability to pay. Well, so what happens is that the Germans end up reacting to this in political and religious ways. The German princes are see this a little bit differently, and other people see this differently. So what was the reaction of the German princes? The peasants' reaction? They actually Luther's not necessarily in support of the peasants, but he does have a quote here at the bottom of page 88. Printing was God's highest act of grace. So in other words, the printing press really enabled these ideas to take off. They really enabled these ideas about Martin Luther's Protestant Reformation to take off and allowed Germany, the Lutheranism, to spread throughout Germany and Scandinavia, where it was more extensive. So again, the princes saw as an answer to church corruption. And they were in support of it. The peasants called for an end to serfdom, but Martin Luther did not necessarily support that. So these are things. That's about all the clues I'm going to give you. Again, slide 2 is what you're working on. It's just more of a guided reading. Talk about the significance of each of these particular concepts based on 1.3 in the text. The other thing that I'm actually going to post a separate video explanation for, is looking at the Middle Ages test corrections. This is strictly optional if you want a half a point back or half back on your test, and that includes the short answer. Although the short answer, you'll need to come talk to me on a Friday session. You'll need to come talk to me to be able to get guidance on the short answer questions. I will go through them and the Meet link that I post if you're so inclined to do that. I will go through them on the Meet link that I post if you're so inclined to do that. Remember, Renaissance check number 1. So again, this is Middle Ages and will be posted here. And you can look for more information. I'm going to go back here. You can look for more information in the Friday Meet if you want information about the short answer questions and a little more guidance on the short answer questions. I'm going to post this as a separate video explanation here in just a moment. Remember, the Renaissance pretest, which is not on the locked browser, is overdue, and the Renaissance check number 1 and the locked browser is overdue, and there will be no credit for that if it's not done by Monday, because I'm going to go through it. So again, your main key for Friday is the Protestant Reformation Guided Reading, slide 2. Slide 2. Incidentally, you can turn in A9, the notebook, since we're the Renaissance Notes and Activities Part 1 notebook, if you're so inclined, because we're done with it essentially.